You are now listening to Wave a Sound.
Welcome to Versus Mike History. I'm your host, Michael History. In episode 113, Kaishon joins the podcast to talk about Dear Black Man. We get into what it took to make the decision to build a community, the types of discussions worth having as black men, connecting with other men in person, and more. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Sign up for our newsletter for brand updates, and join our members-only community on Patreon for access to exclusive programming. For everything else, go to versusmikehistory.com. Peace, family. Welcome to another episode of Versus Mike History. I'm your host, Mike History, and we got Kaishon of Dear Black Man in the building. Peace, brother. How
What's
you
up?
doing?
What's up? I'm good. I'm good. I'm great. Fantastic, actually. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. Um, so we got you on the show today to, talk about your platform and some ideas surrounding that. We're gonna talk about your background a bit, and yeah, getting getting to your head a little bit.
Yeah.
Let people get to know you. Um, but first things first, I ask everybody this when they come on the show. What are you listening to these days?
What am I listening to? Listening to a lot of Italian classic film scores.
Okay.
That's on the music sense. Just kind of hits me sometime. This I guess he's a producer. What is Quincy Jones considered? He's all
Composer.
around. Yeah, because he's like composer, producer, and extraordinaire. Piero Puccini, I think that's how you pronounce his name.
Mm.
Really, really good guy on the music. I listen to a lot of podcasts, just to kind of drown out the backwork, drown out the sounds when I'm working. Um, what's that? Charlemagne and God, a little bit. Just like to hear, talking heads. Nothing really crazy. And some good old Benny.
Word.
Benny, yeah,
Uh,
a lot of hip hop.
Word. That's dope. That's a nice rotation.
Yeah, yeah,
I gotta look up those Italian composers. That sounds very
yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
Um, but all right, let's go ahead and hop in. First and foremost, go ahead and explain to the people what Dear Black Man is.
Yeah. So, Dear Black Man is a community-based brand that aims, sorry, it aims to promote growth and personal growth and community within the Black male space. This started in 2020, and we're here to really open up the minds of Black men to other ways of being and seeing the world around them. I recognize that black there are a lot of black community organizations, but I personally haven't been met with anything that's meant just for black men. I'm sure they're out there. Actually, I take it back. There is like the broader Obama, My Brother's Keepers, organizations like that, but something a little bit more local and closer to home. That doesn't feel so educational is something I was looking for. I was looking for a space where men could just be like, look, this is where I am. I'm not necessarily trying to change into someone else. I just want to be myself and kind of let myself have that free space, if that makes sense. There's just like a lack of that kind of space for people.
I mean, I agree with you. I definitely agree with you. Um, and I appreciate you taking the time out to, develop this platform and build community. And I'm curious to know how you came up with this idea and the journey that led you to developing the platform.
For sure. So like I said, this started in 2020. I mean, that was a pretty tumultuous year for a lot of people. For me personally, I went through like a long-term relationship breakup. I was in the military and I was leaving that, and I was also graduating from school too. So there's a lot of change and transitions where I was left to just me, and I didn't really know like what my direction was. And with that, there also weren't necessarily people I could run to and talk to and be like, hey, I am here and I don't know what the hell that I'm doing next. Actually, can I curse on here? Sorry.
Go ahead. You fine.
um, for the young listeners, my bad. Nah, but yeah, I was just like, yo, what the fuck is this? I don't know what to do with myself. Who am I now that I'm no longer in school? We spend so much time in the educational system, and once you're done, you're like, wait, what? Now I'm just meant to no longer learn in this institution kind of way. Now I'm just free to my own devices. What does that mean? I'm no longer in a relationship. So what does that mean to be a single man? Um, what does that mean to no longer be within the military? Because that was, that was a starting point. It was a foundation in it. It added to my life to set me up, quote unquote, for success. But now that I'm not in that space anymore, I'm just a regular dude, or that's how I felt, like a regular dude who was just kind of low, you know? And I knew that I couldn't be the only person who was feeling this way. So, I started journaling and just writing some things down just to kind of remind myself, keep going, you're doing fine, all those things we tell ourselves just to, keep the affirmations going. Um, and after a while, I started having these aha moments of like, yo, when I was younger, I wish I would have known this, but now I recognize and I have the maturity to see you're a black man who's capable. Why didn't I know this 5 years ago? But it's okay. I know it now. I can't be the only one who has these kind of moments. So from there, I was doing like stickers. I was taking stickers and I'd put them on like the back of a bus, not on the back of like a back of a bus seat. And the first sticker, what did I say? Damn, it was really simple. Something like, "I hope you're having a good day, dear black man. Hope you're having a good day." And that seems so small, but I know that whoever would see a sticker like that, because at the time, if I was to see a sticker like that, I'm like, damn, I appreciate random sticker. Thanks for trying to boost my day. Shit like that was the direction I was going because I wanted to share these moments and share these affirmations with myself and obviously into with other people. Yeah.
So that's very interesting. What I want to know is when all of these thoughts started coming to fruition in your mind, um, I want you to talk about, the difficulty that you went through finding those people that you could have those initial conversations with. Because I know that like it's not always easy to find somebody to have a conversation with about, just being open and you know, uh yourself as a black man and not being judged for anything like for any like personal decisions you make in your life or anything like that. Like it's really hard to have those conversations with other men within our community because it's always like, you know, somebody taking it as a moment where they feel like they need to tell you what you need to do with your life versus, maybe you just expressing yourself.
Hmm.
So I want you to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, that's actually a really key part of Dear Black Man. Just a little, I guess, a little backtrack. There, like I said, there wasn't anyone that I could necessarily talk to initially, but I started therapy around the same time, and I started to begin to have a space like that. Now it was personal, just one-on-one, just for me. I could talk to my therapist, a Black woman, and just telling her what I'm going through, and she's being that ear for me to listen to, and that was great. Tandem with that, I started listening to podcasts that were more Black women, queer, like that was the main audience of these podcasts. And the reason for that was to kind of gain a better understanding of what our sisters are going through. This is all kind of coming from just the fallout of being in a relationship. So just trying to learn for myself. Um, and through that experience, I'm thinking about, okay, well, how would I want to share what I'm going through? Because there aren't too many Black male podcasts that are, just guys venting like that. There's a lot of Black women podcasts and things like that venting, but there isn't much for us. I also recognize that the we as Black men have a hesitation to share anyway. So it's a catch 22. There's it's not there for us to find, but at the same time, we probably wouldn't share anyway. So it's a little it comes a little backwards, especially when we need it the most. Um, so with that, I think about how am I sharing my message? What is my tone that I'm talking to these men? Because I'm thinking if I was on the other side, how would I want to be talked to? I recognize as Black men, we don't necessarily like when people are talking at us or telling us what to do, especially in the emotional-ish space. We prefer, in a sense, if it feels like it was our own idea, or it was more suggestion that we could decide how we want to choose to move forward with. So that's where the stickers, or you'll see on the Instagram where you have the short messages of, telling you, yo, you really should work out. It's not a being, it's not a person who's in your face who's like putting you down and saying that you're less than. It's just giving you a suggestion that potentially could better your life. And I recognize, just as a man and men that I've interacted with, we react better to those kind of statements and organized spaces and thoughts. So, I'm kind of moving around here.
It's all good.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, Before I lose it. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was pretty much that, because I didn't have that, that big brother to give me the direction. I had to make the direction. And knowing that I'm not the only person who probably lacks that sense of direction, I don't want to impose myself on someone else. But I do want to give suggestion because I know it's needed, it's necessary. And the same way I would receive it is the way I would want to share it. And so far, it has been it has been received well in that way. Yeah.
Awesome. Um, so at what point did you transition from, doing the stickers to in-person events where you have men coming together to, just have conversations in general and talk
Mhm.
about like the demographic of Black men that showed up?
Yeah, yeah. Uh, we actually started with a hike. Just if you're in the New Jersey area, there's a there's a forest called South Mountain Reservation, and as a kid, I would go there pretty often. And I'm like, look, I personally want to go on a hike. It's been a minute since I've been out there. Who else wants to come? Let me just put it out there, like just the gang hanging out. I might not know all the dudes, but let's just have this camaraderie and come together and just go on a hike. It was the late summer last August. And I just honestly put an Instagram post out there. It was like, yo, who wants to go on a hike? going to be here on a Saturday morning. See you when you get there. Literally just like that. And what we had about 6 or 7 good guys showed up. Definitely a surprise for me. I only had like my one right hand, and I was like, cool. At least I know it'll just be me and you. And 4 other dudes show up, and it's us. We did a trail, and it was great, honestly. Being able to connect with those guys and hearing their stories and just hearing them say like, yeah, I don't have a big group of guys to talk to or be around. We have our core, but sometimes that core isn't as open to being different or doing something differently, like a hike. Now that I've been in this space for some time, it's like a hike is simple, but for some people it's not. So I have to provide this space so that people can see this can be simple for you too. Something as easy as going on a hike doesn't have to be so far-fetched. And from there, I recognize, okay, well, if people come up for a hike and they'll just talk while we're doing that, maybe they'll be open to going somewhere else. So did a hike, um, did a trip to the museum. Just that was simple, that was easy. And coming into the next year, I was thinking, all right, you know, 2023, it's a big year, and that new year change always there's always the thought of, all right, how am I going to be different? How am I going to, elevate myself going into this year? And finance is always something that comes up for people. So that's where the idea for let's do uh, let's do a finance event. Now, it was really basic in my mind at first. I just wanted to talk about finance because personally, I wanted to be better at finance, not thinking about anybody else. It was just, I want to be better, so I know other people want to be better too.
Or
And with that, I want to be better. Um, I was talking to a friend and as says guys, sometimes we're not good at doing things for ourselves. You know what I mean? Like taking yourself out on a date. For some men, and honestly many of us, that's a foreign concept. Um, I was talking to this girl about that, and she's like, "Oh, you should go do something for yourself." I'm like, I don't know what I would do, And she's like, "Well, what do you like?" I'm like, "Well, I like steak. I do like some steak, And then talking about some scotch, just alcohol, and that's where the juices started turning, and the finance event became steak, stocks, and scotch.
mm,
Um, and I was like, "Yo, that's it right there." I dudes love dudes love steak, and people like money, and then you just throw a little alcohol in there to the mix. It's a good night. Very very manly. It's a very manly event. Was
facts.
the was what the final concept became, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna put this out there, and we're just gonna go from there. So that was the first time I got an organized group of dudes together to quote unquote talk about something important. Um, so that was really to my surprise that people showed up and showed out. Really, I was really happy about that.
Yeah. And I was at the event, and it was pretty awesome, I must say. Like I
Thank
was
you.
I was very impressed with the guys that you found for the panel, and they
Hmm.
dropped a lot of gems. And everything came together really nicely. I think that the alcohol display was a very nice touch. And everybody was open to having conversations with each other. That was really what was mostly important. Like people were making genuine connections and actually networking.
Yeah,
And I feel like that needs to be highlighted a little bit more. And it was just good to just be in the presence of like a bunch of black men who were just chilling. Like, it was just chilling, and then everybody was there, either like finance, steak, or alcohol or all three. So
Yeah,
it was good times.
yeah. I appreciate you saying that. Honestly, I really appreciate you coming through too. There's a lot of faces that were unfamiliar to me. Some were familiar, and I was just a little blown away. I really didn't expect that turnout. It was a sold out event, and the guys on the panel were great. Kaishon, Dion, Taron, they really put it out there for us.
Word. So, you recently had a second event where you spoke about relationships,
Mhm.
and I kind of want you to go over how that went and what types of relationships that um us as black men need to focus on.
Yeah. So this past weekend, we did the Dear Black Man. Let's just talk about relationships. And while initially, being that it was February, the idea came from Valentine's Day.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of romantic sense was the initial ideology, but it turned from romance to relationships in general, and that being relationship of self, romance, as well as platonic friendships, those kind of relationships. The uh, the group came together. It was a solid handful of us in there too. I had a new guy I met, Al Hardy. He was he was phenomenal. He's a life coach, men's emotional health, like thought leader in that space. And it was really great to have him kind of sit in with us and not necessarily be the person who tells us how to live as men, but just to give some guidance through his own experience. And as we have this open dialogue, it was really like think think of a group therapy session, but less therapy and more focus on the therapeutic. We're here to just talk about the spaces that we're currently in within our lives and go back and forth. Um, so we started out just uh, just throwing out questions in there. I had a jar of questions for everyone to kind of pull out and just share their piece. So one of the questions is like, what are your thoughts on non-monogamy or monogamy? Um, and then some more personal questions of what do you need to feel reciprocated? Now, that question specifically is what got me to put the fire under myself to make sure I had this event because I was talking with a friend and she had asked me that question. And something about it just hit me. It was like, I do not know what I need to feel reciprocated. I don't think I've ever been asked that question. I do know that, especially like on this Instagram internet age, there are a lot of women out there like, I need reciprocity. I need this for my emotional health. I need this for our relationship to grow and all those things. And it's always coming from the women's point of view. Not often have I seen it come from the men's point of view. And so that's where this group session kind of put romance specifically a little bit to the wayside, and we focused on the self. Was really like, what do you need, sir, to be the best you? Like, who are you? You know? Um, and that dialogue just went. We were there for about 3.5 hours, just going on and on. I honestly, we probably could have stayed longer if we wasn't gonna get kicked out. Um, and that opened up a lot of eyes. I saw where some guys were telling their stories, and somebody else is on the other side, like, oh shit, I didn't even think about that. I won't go too much into detail of what people were saying about themselves, but that that part of what do I need to be the best me to show up for someone else was a really key element within this event. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bummed that we couldn't have a good video of it, but it was okay because it was one of those things where it's good to be in that moment and let everyone feel like no one is no one is watching and they feel like they have to change who they are. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, in terms of what's next, what are some other ideas that you have in mind to float around for the community?
Yeah. So thing with Dear Black Man is I definitely want it to be different from any other community group. I do look at some other orgs, like I did mention, like My Brother's Keeper, which is put on by fucking Barack Obama. So that's a big thing. It's really good. It's a high key mentorship program. There's another group called Black Men Build. There's some guys I think they're out of the DMV or Miami, or they have like chapters in that way. They're pretty big, and I recognize they're a really good group, really focused on like thought leading for guys. Personally, I'm just gathering my confidence in having this space, but I don't see myself as the person who's like, yo, young guy or older guy, you need to be this way. I just want to provide the space that says, yo, you can just be who you are and it's cool. So with that, I'm looking at, yo, how can we have more fun? Because people are themselves when they're having a good time, you know? That's where that's where the hike is. That's where something like the steak and the scotch is, because people love to eat and chill in that way. So next steps, I'm thinking of events that, or not even events, just coming together and doing something. Something like, let's go rock climbing. Let's go indoor rock climbing. Let's go get a group of guys together and you want to go skydiving today, Mike? You trying to go skydiving this weekend? What's good?
Um,
Shit
Hard
like that. Yeah,
pass.
the hard pass. But
Yeah.
look, maybe you don't want to come to that, but maybe I could do a there's these indoor skydiving, shit like that, or maybe let's do a cooking class.
That
Let's
would be dope.
do that would be dope. They random quote unquote things that you might not necessarily like think to do, but they could be fun. And doing it with other black men just makes you feel more comfortable to do it and not feel so outcasted or unsure about yourself in your personality, in your race, social construct, all that jazz. You know, future a big future thing I want to do is take the guys out on some sort of retreat. I'd see plenty, plenty women going on retreats. Yeah, they going to Costa Rica and shit like that.
Living their
And
best lives too.
they are, and the girls are having it. And I'm like, yo, shouts
In
out
in the name of wellness.
in the name of wellness. And the skin is glistening, you know.
Word.
I'm watching and I'm happy from afar. And now I'm like, yo,
Facts.
how do we get out there, you know? Um, so I'm taking my time with this to figure out how the business of a community org works. But that's a future goal. And especially if I could like, yo, you didn't even have to pay that much for it, or get big enough to be like, yo, you ain't even got to pay at all. You just need to sign up. Like some shit like that would be phenomenal. Um, yeah, yeah. Like I'm when I say I'm looking for the out of the box ideas, I really mean that. Like I don't want to just be us just talking or just being local. Like those are important, but they're not the only thing that I want this to be about.
Word. Um, I have a final question for you before we wrap up.
Mhm.
Um, you know, us as black men, we have a weird relationship with our elders, it's very rocky and uh basically what I'm asking is what role do the elders play in Dear Black Men, and if they play a role at all?
Uh, it's kind of short. They don't. Not that they can't. They just currently don't.
Okay.
Um, I haven't met any elders that I would say have offered any guidance. I also haven't necessarily been looking. I've really just been talking to my peers and listening to what they have to say, their just general outlook on life, um, and kind of just sharing that with everyone else, just to be like, look, you're not the only person thinking like this. Would I would it be valuable to have that? Yeah. Um, yeah, honestly, I would have to. You got me there. I have to really think about how to add that element if it's of a great importance. Well, actually, I take it back. It is important to have a mentorship and have someone who has some life experience just to share and shed light on whatever they've gone through. I just haven't yet met who that person is or who these group of people would be. I guess Al Hardy would be the closest, being that he's a different generation. He offered his time in that sense, but like a consistent person hasn't been there yet.
Word. We gotta work on that then.
Yeah, yeah, uh, yeah, yeah. I go down a rabbit hole.
Yeah, I'm not. I just wanted to leave off on that point, but because I felt like it is, like you said, it's important for us to be able to look to our elders and have them learn from their life experiences and what they went through, and be able to make more conscious decisions for ourselves moving forward. Because it's
Hmm.
informed decisions are the best ones.
This is valid.
Um, but yeah, brother Kaishon, it's been a pleasure speaking
I
to you
appreciate.
today. Thank you for coming on the show, and thank you for promoting your platform, Dear Black Men. How about you go ahead and tell the people where they can find you on social media?
Yes, yes. You can find us on Instagram, dear.black.man. Honestly, if you just type it all out, we're gonna pop up because we are essentially number one dog. Woo woo. Website is being built. It's on the way to have a digital foundation that everyone can check out and see what's going on. If you are in the Houston, Texas area, come out March 4th. We're gonna meet at Memorial Park around 9:30. We're gonna just do a nice trail hike. 10 o'clock. So if you're around in Houston, come through. I appreciate you, Mike. This is great.
Word. And thank you again. And I will see you guys on the next episode. Peace.